My recap and review of Monday Night Raw. Overall, I'll give the show a 4 out of 5 and an 8 out of 10. A solid B. I thought it was a very good show. Now let's get into the recap. To start the show, we get a flyby of Paris, France, where the show was taking place tonight for Raw after Clash in Paris. Then we get highlights of Clash in Paris, which was an alright PLE in my opinion. And in specifically, the ending of it, where Seth Rollins would win and retain the championship with the help of Becky Lynch, low blowing CM Punk, and everybody else would lose with Jey Uso and LA Knight not even being pinned, but were stomped out by Seth. Then we get a backstage segment where Adam Pearce is talking to CM Punk in a hallway somewhere as Punk says this is the only way in the building, and he's waiting for Seth Rollins because it's on site when he sees him after what happened at Clash in Paris. Usual montage with talent arriving as Jey then makes his entrance through the crowd like he usually does. He gets in the ring and he gets on the mic, but instead of running it back like he usually does, he's not in the mood, as he should be standing there champion, but instead he's got medical tape around his waist where the title should have and would have been, as he tried to save his cousin Roman, but instead we all saw what happened in the end. Now the big dog is laid up in a hospital bed, as in his head he keeps hearing Roman say, "Smash them all," contemplating on whether he should have gotten involved, but if you know one thing about him, it's that he doesn't play about his family. As he then, acting out of emotion, calls out all three members of the Vision, but instead, LA Knight comes out, and he talks about how he should have been champion, as he believed in himself last week, but instead he stands there a loser. But he's not ashamed, as it is what it is. He lost, Jey lost, they all lost, and Seth is still the champ. He says people like to say that Jey Uso lives in his cousin's shadow, and he doesn't know anything about that, but Seth damn sure lives in his wife's. All this could have been avoided. All this could have been avoided, as they had a chance to put Seth through a table so they could fight it out amongst themselves to see who's the better man. But he says Jey spoiled it. He's sick and damn tired of being laid out and not being the world champion. And if Jey is having a tough time understanding, he can get him up to speed real quick. Jey tells him to do so, talk to him, what's up. But as Knight starts speaking, he is interrupted by Braun and Brunson. LA tells him he hopes he can rub their brain cells together and put together a coherent sentence. Braun says he's got enough brain cells to beat Knight because he's already done it twice. Yeah, mocking his catchphrase. Breakker says people should be concerned about Paul Heyman because now without Heyman, there's nobody to hold him back. Reed gets on the mic and demands Paris acknowledge him as they chant, "Fuck you, Bronson." Brags about them putting Roman Reigns in the hospital, and they did it because the Vision didn't include Roman Reigns, and it doesn't include Jey Uso or LA Knight either, so they're next. Breakker then pitches a tag team match. Reed says they don't have the balls, as it is all yeet and no skeet, whatever the fuck that means. LA says they're banged up, but if this greasy warhog and this cross-eyed half-wit want their asses whooped, they can. Yeah. Jey agrees, 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. Then we get a recap of the Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Kabuki Warriors conflict over the past few weeks. The Kabuki Warriors are backstage as Io Sky walks in trying to make amends, as she apologizes for making Asuka upset, as Asuka laughs and says that it's okay. They're family and they have a group hug, making it seem like everything was fine, even though it wasn't. Asuka says they'll take care of Judgment Day for her as Io Sky offers help. Kairi Sane is enthusiastic about help, but Asuka says that they don't need help, unlike Rhea, so clearly not okay. Asuka shrugs off Sky's attempt to say more by saying they have a match to get ready for, but Sane says thank you and says everything's gonna be okay. As the Judgment Day make their entrance to take us to break. Then we had a match. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane versus the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. As the Kabuki Warriors would win by submission, as Asuka got Roxanne Perez to tap out after putting her in the Asuka lock. Then Adam Pearce cuts a promo to announce who will be competing for the vacant WWE Raw Women's World Championship. And seeing as both women are owed title matches, it will be Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer at WrestlePalooza with the title on the line. Finn Balor and JD McDonough then make their entrance to send us to break. Back from break, CM Punk is still waiting to jump Seth Rollins. Then we have a match. Dragon Lee versus Finn Balor with JD McDonough ringside. Finn Balor wins, as this was a singles match. Finn Balor would win as JD McDonough would distract Dragon Lee, as Dragon Lee would hit JD with a diving Frankensteiner off the apron out of the ring, as he then got back up the apron to try to attack Finn Balor, but gave Balor too much time to be able to recover, as he then hits the coup de grace, his signature move to pick up the pinfall victory. Io Sky then ran into Nikki Bella backstage, as they exchange kind words, as the Kabuki Warriors come running up yelling. Asuka insists that Nikki Bella isn't her friend, and they'll help her at WrestlePalooza. Io says she can get it done on her own, but Asuka says she didn't get it done last time, so they're helping so they could all be champions again. Io again tries to have a few private words, but Asuka yells, and she goes running. As the New Day make their entrance to send us to break. Back from commercial break, Dominic Mysterio rolls up on Finn Balor and JD McDonough, asking for help with AJ Styles. General Manager Adam Pearce, he arrives, immediately shuts that shit down, as he says that after what happened with Dragon Lee, Finn Balor and JD McDonough are ejected from the building for Mysterio's Intercontinental Championship match against AJ Styles. Dom protests, but Adam Pearce says if he's the greatest champ like he says he is, then there shouldn't be a problem. Then we got another match. Grayson Waller and the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus Penta and the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. A 3-on-3 tag team match. A 6-man tag team match. As Penta and the War Raiders would win. As late in the match, the War Raiders would double team Xavier Woods as Grayson Waller and Kofi Kingston were taken out of the equation. But they threw Xavier into a splash and flip power driver to pick up the pinfall victory. Rhea Ripley's interview backstage. She says she respects both Io and Stephanie, but she keeps her eye on the prize, and no matter who wins, she's gonna get herself a title shot. She's asked about the Kabuki Warriors as they then walk in. Asuka basically says she's got a lot of nerve, asking for a title shot before Io even wins. Rhea says this has nothing to do with friendship. Asuka says that they're not friends, Io and Rhea, and she should stay out of the way. Rhea says she's not playing games, and Asuka needs to stop pushing. Asuka says she's been making history for 15 years and she'll push if she wants. Ripley says, try me. Asuka says nobody is ready for her, not even Rhea. As poor Kyrie was standing in between the two of them the entire time. AJ Styles then makes his entrance to send us to commercial break. Back from commercial break, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne are bugging Adam Pearce backstage, upset that neither of them are in the title match. Lara walks in. Pearce tries to make Raquel and Roxanne leave, as Adam Pearce already had a meeting set up with Lara Valkyria. So that's why he made Raquel and Roxanne leave. Everyone's bickering as Adam Pearce tells Roxanne if she ever wants another match again, she'll leave. Lara then tells Adam she'll fight any one of them. She just wants a match, as Pearce obliges. Then we had a singles match for the Men's Intercontinental Championship between AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio, where El Grande Americano would end up getting involved in the match, as they've been cooking something up for weeks behind the scenes, so this must have been it. As he would distract AJ Styles so that Dominic Mysterio could take advantage by hitting the frog splash to pick up the pinfall victory. LA Knight is then interviewed backstage as he is asked about how he and Jay are going to coexist together in this match. He talks about being taped up and wondering if wrestling is the best decision, but he doesn't know how to quit. And if it means his path back to the title is to beat the sense out of two cross-eyed half-wits, then so be it. As far as Jay, either they can survive together or die apart. And if you give dirt, you get dirt. Jay appears and says luckily he comes from the dirt. They got his cousin. So now he has to get them now. And if LA stays out of the way, they'll be good. CM Punk is backstage chatting with Rhea Ripley as she says sorry for what happened at Clash of Paris. As Adam Pearce rolls up, Pearce says he's been told that Seth is in the building and he doesn't know how. CM Punk tells him he's gonna go and handle this, and Adam Pearce asks what that means. I think you know what that means, Adam Pearce. As we go to break. Back from commercial break, we get a hype reel from a victorious Rusev following his win at Clash of Paris against Sheamus. I see CM Punk then makes his entrance, getting on the mic and calling out Seth Rollins for a man-to-man confrontation, as he's tired of waiting, and he'll hijack the show if need be. Seth's music plays, but it isn't Seth, it's his wife, Becky, impersonating her husband, Seth Rollins. As Becky says she knows she's not the man he's looking for, but she's the man he'll have to deal with. CM Punk, not wanting any part of this, attempts to leave, but Becky stops him as she's listened to him tell lies about her husband and berating him, the greatest man she's ever known. You must not know a lot of great men then, Becky. And she's not going to take it, especially as he's not only affected Seth, but also her, as 10 years ago, they were chanting Punk's name during some of her matches. She also disrespected AJ Lee, whose name was being chanted throughout the entire segment by the crowd, by saying she's a dope who doesn't work here. Punk doubles down, calling Seth a coward, who hides behind Paul Heyman, hides behind Braun, hides behind Bronson, and now is hiding behind his wife, Becky Lynch. She continues glazing her husband, saying that he's hot, jacked, talented, and says he sacrificed more for this business than CM Punk will ever know. Punk calls her delusional. She says he also doesn't interrupt her. Punk says he wished he would, so he wouldn't have to hear her talk anymore, and so he could punch Seth's teeth down his throat. She says Punk isn't the voice of the voiceless, he's the poster child for apathy. She says, referring to a little earlier when she was complaining about the people chanting Punk's name during her matches 10 years ago, and then acting like forgive and forget as she claims that they think that they brought her to the top and main eventing WrestleMania. But no, she did that all by herself. And she also claims to be the greatest women's champion of all time. I know one person who would beg to differ. And it's not just her saying that, it's Sports Illustrated, but Sports Illustrated says it too. Punk says he understands the magnitude of his name, as he says he's the best in the world. And it's not just him saying it, that's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people saying it as they chant CM Punk and he holds the mic up to them to prove a point. Punk also says she's a great wrestler, but she's just got shit taste in men, and she married a bum. He's a paper champion, and he needs to know that this rivalry between them will never be over. Seth Rollins then finally shows up, seemingly to play a game of cat and mouse as CM Punk would attempt to leave again, but Becky stands in front of him as she proceeds to repeatedly slap him. She's not gonna like this, and daring him to do something, but as he leaves, he says he is going to make Seth Rollins regret ever cashing in on him, and Becky is going to regret ever putting her hands on him, teasing a possible AJ Lee return, which hopefully happens. I'm not expecting it to, but hopefully it does. As Becky tries to make light of the situation, saying that she already does, as she's got his gross ball sweat all over her hands, as she then chants na 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 na, encouraging the audience to join in, but they won't, as CM Punk walked away, upset, but seemingly with a plan in place. Commentary hypes up next week's show as main event. Jey Uso makes his entrance to send us a break. Back from commercial break. I watched this show like an hour delayed, so I missed all the commercial breaks, thankfully. Just like you guys, as I wouldn't purposely, put you guys on hold, basically, just because the show says. But getting back to it, back from commercial break, CM Punk is walking and looking for Seth backstage as Adam Pearce stops him and says that they've driven away, as Punk asks where SmackDown is on Friday, which he says is in Chicago, home sweet home for Punk, as he walks away after saying tremendous, as he seemingly has a plan. Oh boy. As we then have the main event, the Braun and Braun connection, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed versus Jey and LA Knight. Braun and Braun connection win as Braun speared Jey after Jey hit the frog splash off the top rope on Bronson Reed to pick up the pinfall victory. Post-match, Braun and Bronson Reed attacked Jey as LA Knight made the save before Bronson was able to hit the tsunami after Braun Breaker took the tape off of Jey's waist, leaving his ribs exposed, but LA Knight got taken out as well, as Braun and Bronson continued to attack Jey until finally Jimmy Uso made the save to end the night off. Overall, I thought it was a very good show, a very good Monday Night Raw. My favorite part was CM Punk, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins promo segment, but that's just my opinion, as that was my recap and review of Monday Night Raw. So until my next recap and review, I will catch y'all later. Deuces.